When examining the context in which Jesus referred to himself as a didaskalos and his followers as mathetes, it is enlightening to explore the broader connotations of these terms in their historical and cultural settings. The Greek word didaskalos translates to teacher, and mathetes means students or disciples. These terms, while straightforward in their definitions, carry significant implications when considering the various philosophical and religious traditions of the time. In the ancient world, the role of a teacher and the relationship with their students were pivotal in several traditions, including Greek philosophy, Jewish rabbinical teachings, and early forms of Buddhist practice. Each of these traditions placed a high value on the transmission of knowledge and wisdom from teacher to student, and the terms didaskalos and mathetes would resonate deeply within these frameworks. In the Greek philosophical tradition, figures such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle were quintessential didaskaloi, guiding their mathetai through rigorous dialectical methods aimed at uncovering truth and fostering virtuous living. The relationship between a Greek philosopher and his students was one of profound intellectual and moral mentorship. Philosophers sought to cultivate not just knowledge but wisdom, a deeper understanding of the human condition, and a commitment to ethical principles. The bond between teacher and student was personal and transformative, often lasting a lifetime. Similarly, the Jewish rabbinical tradition embodied the concept of a rabbi as a teacher and spiritual guide, with disciples who would dedicate themselves to the rabbi's teachings. Rabbis interpreted and expounded upon the Torah, providing their students with both religious instruction and practical guidance for daily living. The relationship was deeply immersive, with disciples often living in close proximity to their rabbis, observing their practices, and internalizing their teachings through constant interaction and study. This close-knit relationship emphasized not just the transmission of knowledge but also the emulation of the teacher's way of life. In the context of early Buddhism, the relationship between a master and his disciples was similarly profound. Buddhist teachers, or gurus, imparted not only doctrinal knowledge but also meditative practices and ethical conduct. The disciples' journey involved intense personal discipline and transformation, guided by the wisdom and experience of the master. The bond was one of mutual respect and deep commitment, with the goal of attaining enlightenment and spiritual liberation. When Jesus referred to himself as a didaskalos and his followers as mathetes, it is plausible to interpret this within the broader context of these established traditions. Jesus, like the Greek philosophers, Jewish rabbis, and Buddhist masters, was engaged in the process of teaching not just abstract knowledge but a way of life. His teachings encompassed moral, spiritual, and practical dimensions, aiming to transform his disciples' understanding and conduct. The Gospels portray Jesus as a figure who taught with authority and profound wisdom, often in ways that challenged existing norms and expectations. His teachings, such as the Sermon on the Mount, were radical in their emphasis on love, humility, and forgiveness. Like a Greek philosopher, Jesus engaged his listeners in parables and dialogues that provoked thought and reflection. His teachings were not just about adherence to rules but about internalizing a deeper, transformative ethic. Moreover, the disciples of Jesus displayed a commitment similar to that seen in the disciples of rabbis and Buddhist masters. They left their former lives to follow him, lived in close proximity, observed his actions, and absorbed his teachings. This was not merely a superficial adherence but a deep, personal transformation. The calling of the disciples, as depicted in the Gospels, involved a radical reorientation of their lives towards the values and mission that Jesus embodied and taught. The connotation of Jesus as a didaskalos and his disciples as mathetes likely carried echoes of these diverse traditions. While distinct in many respects, each tradition shared a common thread of transformative learning and personal mentorship. Jesus' role as a teacher involved guiding his disciples towards a new understanding of their relationship with God and each other, much like the transformative guidance provided by Greek philosophers, Jewish rabbis, and Buddhist masters. Furthermore, the early Christian communities, as depicted in the Acts of the Apostles and the Epistles, reflect the continuation of this teacher-student dynamic. The apostles, having been disciples of Jesus, took on the role of didaskaloi themselves, teaching new converts and nurturing their faith. The emphasis on communal living, shared resources, and mutual support among the early Christians mirrored the close-knit communities of rabbinical disciples and Buddhist sanghas. When Jesus called himself a didaskalos and his followers mathetes, it is likely that the connotation was akin to the relationships seen in Greek philosophical schools. Jewish rabbinical teachings, and early Buddhist communities. These terms evoked a sense of profound mentorship, personal transformation, and communal living centered around the teacher's wisdom and example. Jesus' teaching was not merely about imparting information but about guiding his disciples towards a radical reorientation of life, rooted in love, humility, and a deep commitment to God's kingdom. This transformative relationship, resonant with the traditions of the time, highlights the depth and significance of Jesus' role as a teacher and the enduring impact of his teachings on his disciples. I think that it is safe to assume that orthodoxy and evangelical orthodoxy made more of the term master and disciple than was ever meant to be. Could it be that Jesus was a master in the traditional understanding of the word at that time in history? If you found this interesting or it resonates with you, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you.